Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. It's Daryl here, and today we're checking out Fender versus PRS. So today we're going to compare two flagships from two different companies. We've got the PRS Custom 24 core model versus Fender's American Professional Strat. Now for those of you guys who are wondering, I've already done the Gibson side of this comparison. I'll link to it above, but basically we did Les Paul Standard versus Custom 24 flagship versus flagship. And the tonal results were a little surprising to me. So anyway, if you're interested in that comparison, follow the link above. You can check it out there. Now, where the PRS ran rampant over the Gibson in terms of design, weight, balance, playability, and so on, I don't think it's going to have such an easy time against the Strat. So as per usual, I'm going to drop the times for each section of the video in the video description below. So if you just want to jump to a certain aspect of this comparison, feel free to do that. Other than that, let's jump straight in. All right, so let's kick things off with the Custom 24, and we'll hit up some of the highlights and what makes this guitar unique. Now, the first thing I do want to say is the carve is stunning. Probably second only to a Les Paul. It's just got a very, very beautiful carve, including around the volume and tone knobs, which is really unique. But yeah, just very, very aesthetically pleasing in terms of how the body was shaped, and of course, like I said, all those carves just make it a very beautiful design. So what exactly makes this guitar unique? Well, like I said before, they took the best of Fender, the best of Gibson, mashed it up together and created this really cool guitar. And, you know, it really has stood the test of time. So let's start up on the headstock. We've got PRS locking tuners, not Grover, Schaller, or anything like that. These are their proprietary tuning machines. Really unique. They lock from the top, so you just stick the string through and then lock this little top piece, and you've got locking tuners. So they're lightweight, in my opinion, aesthetically pleasing. I like the open gear tuning machines, something that we've seen on classical guitars for hundreds of years. To bring it over to electric guitars, I think is a really nice touch. Now, in terms of the construction, it's a recipe we've seen before. Mahogany neck, rosewood fingerboard, mahogany body, maple top. Now, as the name of the Custom 24 suggests, we get 24 frets or 2 full octaves, so a couple more frets than either Fender or Gibson. Fretwork, as you would expect on a guitar this expensive, is fantastic. No flaws anywhere really on this guitar at all. Electronics, 5909 pickups, which as that name suggests is kind of a throwback to 59s. Spacing on a 24 fret guitar means the humbuckers are a little bit closer together than what you would find on a 22 fret guitar. And we have a 5-way switch. So this is where, for me, I think this comparison is going to be very interesting, comparing the PRS 5-way switch versus the Fender 5-way switch, especially in those in-between positions. We're going to see what kind of tones we can get out of both of these guitars. Other than that, we've got a trem system, which is floating and very, very stable. It's hard to put this guitar out of tune. You've got brass saddles, a brass block underneath, and a pop-in arm with a set screw, so it stays where you want it. Now, this Strat has a heritage going back to 1954. So it's a proven design. It's the most popular guitar in the world, and for great reason. So playable, so many different tones, and so comfortable. Going all the way back to the 50s. So many designs earlier than that, like the Tele and the Les Paul. Not really a lot of fun to play, even though they're amazing guitars, and I love them. But then comes along the Strat and changes everything. Beautiful design, very comfortable. Let's hit up the highlights. So as I mentioned, this is an American Professional Stratocaster in Sienna Sunburst, one of my favorite Fender finishes of all time. I think it's just beautiful. Now, I did mod this guitar in one way. I added Fender locking tuners. Now, I'll say this to you, Fender, this is your flagship guitar. Put locking tuners on it from the factory, right? Save your vintage tuners for the American Original series. Save your basic ones for the Player series, the Made in Mexico series. Every single American guitar deserves locking tuners. Make it happen. Now, it really is astonishing how many things Leo Fender got right from the beginning, including this guitar's design. Straight string pull through the nut, no tilt back on the headstock, and a maple neck makes for an almost indestructible guitar. It can take so much abuse, no repairs needed. Now on this particular model, we do get a bone nut, so props to Fender for that. I redid the fretwork on this one like I do for most of my guitars. I didn't on the PRS, but for this one I definitely did, so it plays like butter. It was okay, you know, compared to the PRS or other, you know, high-end Japanese brands. The fretwork on Fenders are decent, but you know, a little bit of love from players. I've got tutorials on that. You can make it play like crazy. So I do have this guitar playing like butter, but that's more, you know, from me rather than Fender. We've got the new V-Mod pickups from a couple years ago. I don't really notice that they're much different, but the whole thing with the V-Mod is they use different types of Alnico magnets on the same pickup. So they'll change them depending on which string it's on. Really cool idea. I don't really notice that it's that you know, much different or anything, but we'll have a listen to them in a second. They did upgrade the trem finally. So thankful for that. Pop-in bar, no more fooling around, set screw. So really nice, super tight, very playable, 2-point trem with vintage saddles. So really nice. Now, some of the reasons why the Strat has been so incredibly popular is that right from the beginning, it was balanced, it was lightweight, it was ergonomic, it was playable, and it had a ton of tones on tap. Well, started with a 3-way switch, but once it got its 5-way switch, so many tones on tap. It's super flexible, and it's like a modder's dream. There's so many aftermarket parts and support for this guitar that, you know, you can buy a cheap Strat and really turn it into anything you want. All right, so let's move on and do the tone test. Now here's where things get a little interesting. Both of these guitars have 5-way switches, but we've got 2 humbuckers versus 3 single coils. Now if you don't know the difference between a humbucker and a single coil, you'll hear the difference right away, so stay tuned for that. But in terms of how these are broken up, very interesting. Now on a Strat, our 5-way switch goes bridge pickup, both pickups, middle pickup, both pickups, neck pickup. So those are your 5 different pickup selections. Now on the PRS, very different. We've got the bridge pickup. Now in position 2, we've got the bridge pickup with one of the neck single coils. So we'll see if it has any sort of quackiness to it. I'm not sure. We'll compare and we'll hear right away. Middle position is both pickups on together. Position 4 is the full neck humbucker with just one of the coils from the bridge pickup. So again, kind of splitting them up in a different way, and then full neck pickup. So as always, I'll be plugged into my Blue Angel amp, mic'd up with the Rode NT1 and the Earthworks SR25. So here are my final thoughts on these two amazing guitars. First of all, the PRS. Now, when you buy a PRS, especially the core model, you drop a ton of cash. Now for that, you expect perfection, and for the most part, that's what PRS delivers. Extremely consistent with their guitars. Beautiful finishes. Most of them have like stunning, 10 tops of quilted or flamed maple. I really like the gold top on this one. It's just a little bit different, but it really shows off the carve and stuff beautifully. The birds with the abalone inlays, stunning. Fretwork, amazing. Almost every aspect of this guitar is perfection in terms of how it's crafted, but you pay a lot of money for that. Thankfully, the SE line, which I think is made in South Korea or maybe some of them in Indonesia as well, very consistent as well and very good for under $1,000. So that's a great option for a lot of players and can be totally a lifetime guitar. Something like this though, you get better frets that are going to last a long time, high-end electronics, and every single aspect of this guitar is gone over with a fine-tooth comb before it leaves. So very, very nice. Things I don't like: gloss neck. Not a big fan. Love it if they offered gloss everywhere but matte on the back of the neck. That's a player's option. Just makes it easier to play. Love the profile, love the radius, love the fretwork, love the design. Don't love the lip right here. So whereas the Strat just kind of tapers off and you never feel anything, here you do feel that lip if it's up against your body and your hands there. Not terrible, but it's there. Okay, it looks beautiful, makes the design look stunning, but in terms of like when you're actually playing it, you do notice that basically 90-degree lip there, whereas, like I said, lots of other designs, particularly the Strat, does not have that. So those would be my two kind of gripes about this guitar is, yeah, don't like the lip, don't like the gloss neck. Other people, it might not bother them at all. So other than that, this guitar is stunning, playable in every way, like I mentioned, very ergonomic. Awesome, awesome guitar. Now, as for the Stratocaster, even a modern one like this certainly looks a lot more vintage when, compared up against the Custom 24 in terms of the body designs. But Leo just nailed this. He just knocked it out of the park. So playable, and now for us anyways, it has a little bit of a vintage vibe. Low output pickups that you need to crank the amp, which I'm totally fine with. Let the amp do its job. Amplify. You don't need super hot pickups. You can get killer tones out of this. You just got to crank it a little bit more than humbuckers. Trem system, awesome, stable. Like I said before, it would be nice if locking tuners came on all American made guitars. Only the highest end ones and some, special, I think like deluxe made in Mexico ones have the contoured heel joint, other than the deluxes, which again, you pay for more money. Would love to see that contoured heel joint on every Fender. Top to bottom. Just makes sense. Don't withhold it so that people buy your high-end models or whatever. They'll just go to a different model. Now, in terms of the playing experience on both of these guitars, it's more similar than you might think. Slight differences in scale length. You've got 25 versus 25.5. Slight differences in radius, 9.5 versus 10. So it's not like worlds apart when you switch, just because they are so lightweight, balanced, ergonomic. Like I said, very, very playable instruments. Now, as for the tones, certainly the PRS gets the nod for more modern high-gain playing. These are the 5909 pickups, very warm and full, less bright and cutting as some other PRS pickups. So, if that's what you want, check out the 5909s. I think they're great. The V-mods are vintage all the way. Low output, chimey, and bright. Certainly you noticed a big difference between these pickups in terms of output and how they drove the overdrive. But yeah, classic Strat. The V-mods don't really stray too much from that classic formula. Now, I will quickly mention one thing about construction, and that is this. The PRS is much, 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 much nicer than the Fender. And so it should be. The price dictates that it should be. And all the little things, the attention to detail, much nicer on the PRS. You just can't do a comparison without mentioning that. And you know, to get a Fender of roughly equivalent, you'd have to go up into, you know, the Fender custom shop, which makes sense because then the price kind of gets a little bit closer between models. Stepping up to something like this is a little bit more comparable, but it is more of a specialty guitar, so that's why it's not in this comparison. But the construction between this guitar and the PRS, a little bit closer, but you know, there's almost nothing like a PRS. The attention to detail is insane. So, you know, you can get close on a Fender, but, you know, if you go to your Fender custom shop, then you just go to the PRS private stock and you still have that disparity. You pay a lot for a PRS. And, you know, whether that's worth it to, you know, the average player, that's up to you. So my recommendation really comes down to this. If you're going to play with a lot of gain, go with the PRS. The 5-way switch is hum canceling on every position, so it's a quiet guitar. And those 5 pickup positions sounded great, clean as well. So really versatile. It's not just a one-trick pony, but it handles gain really, really well. The Strat is a little brighter, a little cutting, especially when you use some overdrive. It can get a little brash and thin, so you got to watch out for that. But anything, you know, blues, right in its wheelhouse. Clean, perfect, you know, all the way up to classic rock, can totally handle it. Beyond that, you have to really kind of re-EQ all your stuff and use noise gates and all that stuff to kind of compensate. Totally can be done, but with the PRS, you just plug in and go. With the Strat, yeah, clean overdrive tones, absolutely fabulous, classic tones. So very different guitars when it comes to tone, when it comes to playability, ergonomics, and all that kind of stuff. More similar than different. If you guys enjoy videos like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel. You can check out these t-shirts in the video description below. Other than that, have an amazing week, you guys. Take care.